There's something strange about how an INFJ flirts. It doesn't look like flirting at all. In fact, if you're not paying attention, you might think they're just being nice, or even shy. But underneath that calm and thoughtful surface, the INFJ could be using one of the most unusual flirting styles of any personality type. It's subtle, it's deep, and if you're not tuned in, you'll miss it completely. That's why some call it an insane tactic. It's a way of showing interest without actually showing it, at least not in the ways most people expect. The INFJ is one of the rarest personality types, known for being quiet, deep thinking, and emotionally aware. They often sit back, observe, and wait. They don't rush into anything. That includes relationships. But when they start to like someone, they show it in ways that are so calm and understated, it might not seem romantic at all. They don't flirt with loud jokes or flirty comments. Instead, they open the door to something that feels more meaningful. They create a connection that grows slowly, but with real intensity. Why do they do this? INFJs often feel awkward doing traditional flirting. Small talk and teasing can feel fake or forced to them. They want something real, something that lasts. So instead of showing interest through words or obvious moves, they use signals that line up with their personality. Things like making time for you, sharing private thoughts, or showing quiet support. These actions might not scream, "I'm into you," but for an INFJ, they mean a lot. Another reason this style of flirting is so different is that INFJs are hard to read. Even when they like someone, they don't always show it on the surface. They're thinking all the time, watching how the other person responds. They might even hold back until they feel safe. That's why someone could spend months around an INFJ and never know the real feelings under the surface. But here's the catch. If you know what to look for, you'll start to see the signs. The INFJ doesn't flirt the way others do, but they do have their own way. And when they use it, it can be incredibly powerful. Because once an INFJ likes you, they don't take it lightly. They're not here to play games. Every move they make is thoughtful, and every sign they give you means something. In this video, we're breaking down 6 clear tactics INFJs use to show interest without falling into typical flirting. These aren't wild moves or grand gestures. They're quiet actions, often missed by people who don't know what to look for. But if you've ever had an INFJ in your life, or if you are one, these will feel very real. By the end of this, you'll see that INFJ flirting might be the most confusing and most honest kind of flirting there is. It's not for everyone, but for the INFJ, it's the only way that makes sense. Tactic number 1. They give up something important, alone time or plans, for you. The first sign that an INFJ likes you, even if they're not saying it out loud, is when they give up something important just to be around you. This might seem like a small thing at first. Maybe they cancel a quiet night at home or push back a project they were working on. But for an INFJ, these choices aren't casual. They're serious. INFJs need alone time more than almost any other personality type. It's how they recharge. When the world feels overwhelming, they go inward. They reflect, right, or just sit with their thoughts. So when they choose to spend that precious time with someone else, it's a big deal. They're not doing it to be polite. They're doing it because they genuinely want to. Let's say you invite an INFJ to a last-minute event. Normally, they'd say no. They like to plan ahead and keep things low-key. But if they say yes, especially without hesitation, that's a sign. It means they value your presence enough to shift their natural habits. They're making room for you in a space that's usually closed off to others. This isn't just about events either. It can show up in small moments. Maybe they stay on a phone call longer than usual. Maybe they walk you home even if it's out of the way. Maybe they check in with you when they were planning to spend the evening alone. These aren't random actions. They're quiet choices that say, "You matter to me." And here's the key. the INFJ might not even explain why they're doing it. They won't make a big deal about their sacrifice. They won't expect anything in return. But underneath, it means a lot. Because for them, time and energy are sacred. They only share them with people who truly mean something. Think about how rare this is. In a world full of distractions and social noise, the INFJ's attention is something special. They're not doing it to impress. They're not playing hard to get. They're showing, in the clearest way they know, that you've made it past their wall. This can also be seen in how they prioritize. Maybe they were supposed to be writing, studying, or relaxing, but they choose to focus on you instead. Maybe they had plans for the weekend, but they cancel them to be there when you need someone. Again, they might not say anything. They'll just show up. Quietly, without fanfare. That's how they show interest. Some people might not notice this at all. They might assume the INFJ is just being nice or flexible. But that's not it. An INFJ does not give up their personal space or time unless it feels truly important. So if you see this happening, know that it's not random. It's one of the clearest signs that they're into you, even if they never say it directly. This tactic may not look like flirting in the usual way, but for the INFJ, it's a powerful form of emotional connection. It's not about words or physical moves. It's about presence. It's about showing you that you matter enough to be let into their world. Tactic number 2. They share their deeper self, their thoughts, feelings, intuitions. INFJs guard their inner world. They don't open up easily, even with people they like. So when they begin sharing their inner thoughts, strong feelings, or strange little intuitions with you, that's not just a sign of comfort, it's a sign of deep interest. This kind of sharing is rare for them. They're not just making conversation. They're letting you see behind the curtain. To understand why this matters, you need to understand how the INFJ operates. Most of their thinking happens quietly under the surface. They process emotions deeply, and they often notice patterns or insights others miss. But they don't throw these things out in everyday talk. They save them for the people who feel safe. So if they start to tell you about what they believe, how they feel, or what keeps them up at night, it means they trust you. It could start small. Maybe they say something like, "I've been thinking a lot about where my life is going," or, "I feel like I'm meant to do something different." These are not throwaway lines. They're invitations. If they start talking about how they view the world, what they fear, or what kind of connection they want, this is emotional exposure. And that's not something they give out freely. This also includes their emotional history. INFJs may tell you stories from their past that hold meaning. Not just facts or funny memories, but things that shaped them, things that hurt them or helped them grow. This type of sharing is deeply personal. And once again, if they're giving it to you, it means you're not just anyone to them. There's also a kind of emotional language INFJs speak that you might not catch right away. They may ask you questions like, "What drives you?" or "Do you ever feel like you're meant for something more?" These are not random questions. They're tests, gentle ones, to see if you're someone they can connect with on a deeper level. If you respond openly, they'll continue. If you shut it down, they'll likely pull back. You may also notice them opening up about how they feel in the moment. INFJs don't always express their emotions out loud. But when they do, especially in front of someone they like, it's a vulnerable moment. They might say they feel nervous, excited, unsure, or hopeful. They're not trying to impress. They're just showing who they really are. That honesty is one of their ways of connecting. To the outside world, INFJs often look composed and private. But when they feel close to someone, their inner world starts to come forward. And that's where the connection starts to build. If they're sharing dreams, fears, or deep thoughts with you, they're not just making small talk. They're signaling real interest, INFJ style. Tactic number 3. They zoom into you, ask about your dreams, values, future. When an INFJ is interested in someone, they don't stay on the surface. They start zooming in on the details of who you are, not just your hobbies or your job, but your thoughts, your beliefs, your hopes. They want to understand you in a real way, and that means asking the kinds of questions most people never ask. At first, this might just seem like they're a good listener. They ask questions and remember your answers. But then it goes deeper. They start asking things like, what does success mean to you? Or, do you ever feel like you're meant to do more? These kinds of questions are not casual. They're ways of seeing how you think and feel, what kind of person you really are underneath everything. INFJs want more than just attraction. They want connection. They want to see how you view the world and where your heart really is. So they ask the kind of questions that bring those parts of you to the surface. It might feel like therapy sometimes, or like they're reading your mind. But they're not trying to fix you. They just want to know you. This can also show up in how they follow up. An INFJ will remember something you said 2 weeks ago and bring it up again. Maybe you mentioned wanting to move to another country or start a business. They'll ask, have you thought more about that? It might catch you off guard. But it shows they were listening, not just to respond, but to understand. They also ask questions that help them sense your values. Not just what you believe, but why. They want to know what matters to you, what you care about, and what kind of future you're aiming for. This helps them feel out if there's a deeper match. They're not looking to change you. They're looking to align with you. And it's not all questions either. They may reflect things back to you. If you share something vulnerable, they'll sit with it. They won't rush to fill the silence. Instead, they'll give space for your words to land. They'll often say things like, that makes sense, or I can feel how much that matters to you. This is empathy in action, and it's one of the ways they connect emotionally without saying it outright. So when an INFJ is asking about your future, your values, or your inner world, they're not just being curious. They're trying to build a bridge between you and them. And if they're building that bridge, it means you've caught their attention in a serious way. Tactic number 4. They mix quiet awkwardness plus extra attention. When an INFJ starts liking someone, their energy changes. On the outside, it might look like a strange mix of nervousness and warmth. They may become a little more awkward than usual, more quiet, more careful, but at the same time, they start giving you more attention than anyone else around them. It's a confusing combination, but it's often how you know something is going on. This awkwardness isn't a sign of disinterest. In fact, it usually means the opposite. INFJs are good at handling themselves in most social settings. But when they start to care about someone, they can get thrown off. They may second-guess what to say or worry about how they're coming across. It's not that they're shy all the time. It's that they care too much in that moment. You might notice them stumbling over words, going quiet, or acting more serious than usual. Their usual confidence in conversation fades a bit, replaced with this calm but nervous energy. But while they seem a little off, their attention is fully on you. They're noticing what you say, how you move, how you react. They're present in a way that feels different from how they act with others. This attention can show up in small things. They may hold eye contact longer than usual or avoid it completely. They may laugh at things you say, even if they're not that funny. They may ask if you're okay more often, or make little gestures like offering to help carry something, even if it's not needed. These actions are subtle, but they're signals. What's interesting is that INFJs often try to hide their feelings. They don't want to make it obvious they like someone. But in trying to hide it, they end up acting just a little strange. They might fidget, say something, and then quickly correct it, or give a compliment and then change the subject. This isn't game playing, it's just nerves. There's also a protective side to this behavior. INFJs don't fall for people easily, so when they do, they're cautious. They don't want to get hurt or look foolish. So even as they give more attention, they pull back just enough to stay in control. It's like a soft push and pull, warmth mixed with hesitation. But if you look past the awkwardness, what you'll find is someone who's genuinely trying. They're not performing. They're just showing up the only way they know how. And that extra attention, even in small doses, means more than any loud flirtation ever could. Tactic number 5. They physically connect subtly, gentle touches or being in your space. INFJs are very private people, especially when it comes to physical space. They don't like being touched by just anyone, and they don't enter someone else's space without reason. That's why, when they start making small, physical moves, like a gentle touch on your arm or standing a bit closer than usual, it's not random. It's a quiet sign of affection. They're not the type to drape themselves over someone or flirt in loud physical ways. Instead, they'll lean in just a little when they talk. They'll brush against your shoulder, and maybe they won't pull away as quickly as they normally would. These moments are brief, but intentional. They're trying to feel connected without crossing any lines. It might be something simple, like adjusting your scarf, lightly touching your hand when making a point, or sitting next to you, even when there's plenty of other space available. These moves are soft, respectful, and often quick. But for the INFJ, they carry meaning. They wouldn't do this if they weren't comfortable with you, and for them, comfort is a big step toward closeness. This kind of physical expression is careful. INFJs are not usually bold in this area unless they feel safe. They're aware of how others might feel, so they usually wait for a sign that the attention is welcome. But when they start letting down that wall, it shows they're beginning to trust the connection. They may still seem shy, but these small physical moments are ways of saying, "I'm here with you." Sometimes the change is in how often they show up near you. Maybe they enter a room and find a reason to sit by you. Or they walk beside you instead of ahead. Or they linger just a bit longer when saying goodbye. These aren't dramatic actions, but for an INFJ, they're not accidental. Also, watch for moments when they mirror you. Maybe you lean forward and they do the same. Maybe you cross your arms and they unconsciously follow. This is part of how they tune into your energy. They are trying to connect, and sometimes that comes through subtle mimicry. They do this without realizing it, and it's often a sign of comfort and interest. To someone who doesn't know the INFJ well, these things might not stand out. But if you know their usual distance and respect for boundaries, you'll see the difference. You'll notice when they start breaking their own patterns, not in a loud or dramatic way, but in small, quiet moments of physical closeness. It's not about being bold. It's about being present. And for the INFJ, even a small step forward in physical connection is a sign they're moving closer to something real. Tactic number 6. They help you, show they're in your corner, support and encouragement. One of the clearest ways an INFJ shows interest is by quietly supporting you. They might not flirt with words or flashy moves, but they'll be there when you need them. They'll help you without being asked. They'll encourage you in moments when others might not even notice you're struggling. For them, love often looks like support. This support can come in many forms. Maybe they send you a message the night before something important, just to wish you luck. Maybe they offer advice without making you feel judged. Or maybe they do something small, like sending you a song, reminding you to eat, or asking how your day went even when theirs was hard. These are all ways they show care. INFJs pay attention. If they like you, they remember what you care about, what stresses you out, and what you're working toward. So when they show up for you, especially when no one else does, it's not by chance. They're putting effort into your life. They're saying without words, "I see you, I believe in you." This can also show up in how they defend you or stand up for you, even when you're not around. They'll speak positively about you, mention your strengths, and protect your image. They do this quietly, not for attention, but because they're invested. They care about how you're treated. That's not something they do for everyone. Sometimes their help comes from behind the scenes. You may not even realize how much they've done until later. They'll stay up late helping you plan something. They'll connect you with someone who can help you. They'll push you to believe in yourself when you doubt it most. This kind of love isn't loud, but it runs deep. And the biggest sign? They do it without expecting anything back. INFJs don't help people just to get close. They help because it's their way of loving. So when they direct that energy toward you, it means you've become someone they care deeply about. You may notice they're harder on themselves than on you. That's another sign. They'll offer you grace and patience, even when they don't offer the same to themselves. They'll put your needs above their own in quiet ways. It's not always healthy, but it's honest. And it's often how they express emotions they're too scared to say out loud. So if an INFJ is showing up for you again and again, not with grand gestures, but with steady, quiet support, they're not just being nice. They're telling you how they feel. And even if they never say the words, their actions will say it all. INFJs don't flirt the way most people do. They don't use clever lines or playful teasing. They don't chase attention or try to win someone over with charm. Instead, they build something real, one small moment at a time. And when they like someone, they show it through things that matter: sacrifice, trust, income, attention, care. If you've seen any of these tactics from an INFJ in your life, don't brush them off as just kindness or politeness. For them, it's much more. They might never say, "I like you," out loud. But their actions will tell you everything, if you're paying attention. And if you're an INFJ yourself, maybe now you understand your own habits a little better. You're not cold. You're not avoiding love. You're just moving at a pace that feels safe. And your version of flirting might not be loud, but it's real. It's honest. And when the right person sees it, they'll know. Thanks for watching this breakdown of how INFJs flirt without flirting. The signs are there. You just have to learn how to read them.